in Pennsylvania and beyond. Brought to you by the Mariana Outdoorsman Association and by Wild Acres Farm, Fishery, and Regulated Hunting Grounds. Now, the Great Outdoors with Jason White.
Hello, friends. I'm Jason White. Welcome to the Great Outdoors. I got a great show lined up for you today, so really excited about it. But before we get into it, I want to give a special thanks to the Mariana Outdoorsman Association. They're our head sponsor of the show. MarianaOutdoors.com. Again, MarianaOutdoors.com. You can check them out. I know that they are currently accepting memberships. If you join anytime between now and the end of the year, you get the rest of this year for free, and then you get all of next year. They got some really exciting events upcoming. I'll dive into those here in a minute also. Also, Wild Acres Farm, Fishery, and Regulated Hunting Grounds. If you're ever looking to do an upland bird hunt, ever looking to do a wild turkey hunt, wild free-ranging whitetail hunt, please check them out. Wild Acres Farm is managed by 10 Mile Creek Outfitters, so you can go to 10mileco.org. Again, that's 10mileco.org. Phone number is 724-579-0924. Again, if you're looking to do an upland bird hunt, pheasants, quail, chukars, or if you want to get into the turkeys and also whitetail deer, great place to go. Great place to go. And last but not least, Washington County Travel and Tourism Agency. Greatly appreciate their support. Please visit Washington County. Some upcoming events. I just want to dive into that real quick. We're in the last week of Pennsylvania rifle season, so if you haven't had the opportunity to go out, I really hope you will go. It's really important that we all, as conservation-minded folks, go out and harvest the does, and not just the bucks, but also the does. Got to get harvested. I'm going to talk about this a little more later in the show, but harvesting some does this last week. I really hope people will, get outside, go do your duty as a conservation-minded outdoors person, and hopefully, fill out your tag and hopefully fill your freezer. But that being said, next Monday, the 11th, a couple things are happening. The Mariana Outdoorsman Association is actually having their December trout stocking. That'll be at 3 p.m. Everybody meets at Wild Acres Farm. That is 1997 Morey Road, Clarksville, Pennsylvania, 15322. Again, the December trout stocking. So we've stocked trout in October, November, and now December. We have great water flow, so I can assure you after this stocking, the whole fishery in its entire length will be fantastic. And it will be fantastic and progressively get better the closer we get to spring. Every March and even into April, it's typically just absolutely on fire. But again, that'll be Monday, December 11th, 3 p.m. We always meet at Wild Acres Farm, and then we will go and stock, all the streams accordingly. The same day, the MOA and Wild Acres Farm will be opening back up for upland bird hunting, and also all the gun ranges will be opening back up. We honor rifle season in Pennsylvania for obviously the safety of not only the hunters, but also for their dogs, and obviously just respect to all the nearby neighbors. Don't want to be, messing anybody's hunting up, and so safety and respect is certainly our thing, and we're excited to be opening back up. So, any members out there wanting to do any upland bird hunts, we stock birds weekly. So I'm really excited because we'll be hitting it hard here, opening back up, and I know people just love really after deer season to get out and do some upland bird hunting. But that'll be a weekly venture that we stock pheasant, quail, chukars. We're going to be stocking some Tennessee red quail and also some Georgia jumbos. So pretty excited about that. I think the quail really give a different feel and a different aspect. If you've never had the opportunity to do that, please come check us out. Again, 10mileco.org. You can do that as a non-member. Or if you want to do it as a member, MarianaOutdoors.com. you certainly have options. You don't have to be a member to come and enjoy the great outdoors that Wild Acres Farms offers, and also the Mariana Outdoorsman Association. Looking ahead into the new year, which I'm really excited about. Hate to look for the future so much, but January the 13th will be our Continental Pheasant Hunt. It's a fundraiser for habitat and conservation for the Mariana Outdoorsman Association. There's actually 6 slots that are still available. We've sold 14 already, so there's 6 places still available. Happy to have everybody. It's really a good time. If you've never had the opportunity to do a continental pheasant hunt, it's really it's a unique experience. It's very different. If you've never looked at, never seen it, never heard about it, just Google search a European pheasant hunt or a continental pheasant hunt, and you'll find videos that I'm sure will give you some good guidance. Backtracking a little bit, Friday, January 5th, tentatively we'll be stocking trout again. Really excited about this. We're going to be putting some tagged fish in the water starting in January. So if anybody hasn't, heard about that or whatnot, we have a lot of information on our website, marianaoutdoors.com, our tagged fish program. I'm really looking forward to that. We have not done that before this year, so it should be fun. We're going to be tagging fish from January through April, and then we'll just kind of record all that information as people turn in tags. It's really kind of innovative because you don't have to deal with injuring the fish or potentially injuring the fish. The fish are pre-weighed before ever coming to be stocked. So, as long as somebody collects the tag and properly turns it in, we will know how big it is. And then as we kind of move forward, every month from February, March, April, May, we will be stocking trout. So if you're looking to catch big trout, making some amazing memories, catching a lot of trout, by all means, come check us out, marianaoutdoors.com. We're actually, I skipped right over it. The 16th of December, we're going to be having a tour and an open house. So if you want to come check out what we're talking about, if you want to kind of dive into the things that we're working on, see what our goals are and ambitions for conservation and what we're doing for habitat improvement, not only on the immediate but also in the long term. The 16th of December, which is a Saturday, 10 o'clock, we'll be meeting at Wild Acres Farm, 1997 Maury Road, Clarksville, Pennsylvania, 15322. Come check us out. And as always, you can call me directly if you ever have a question, 724-579-0924. Do our best to answer everybody's questions, and certainly I tell everybody, every year we're trying to do things to make things better and to build and to grow. And I think that is something that I'm really proud of the things that we've done over the years, because we are never stagnant despite COVID, despite any financial burdens or hoops or permits or you name it. We've really put the time, the effort, the sweat equity, the sweat off of our brows to continue to develop and grow. But that being said, I want to circle back to the conversation about doe hunting. When you talk about development and when you talk about conservation, when you're doing things that are conservation minded, one thing I've learned over the years is when the springtime rolls around and we're getting ready to go plant the fields, this past year, I knew that I had failed, or I don't know if I failed, but yeah, I guess I could say I failed. I failed at doing a good enough job at, addressing the checks and balances with the deer. And I kind of let it go for almost 3 years, where we were shooting just 1 or 2 doe a year off of the main Wild Acres farm. And this year, I knew that I really dropped the ball, because I cannot stress to you the amount of crop damage that I witnessed this year. We had planted these big fields with sunflowers, and literally the sunflowers did not get above knee high. Literally, the deer would come through. You would think, oh man, the sunflowers are going to look awesome. They're really going to grow well. Yeah, this stuff all gets planted. It grows, gets about knee high. The deer come through in the middle of the night and just eat the heads off of every sunflower. Literally, it looked like somebody went through there just with like a laser and just like zoom, just cut everything off. About once a week, they'd come back and just eat everything back. So like nothing ever had the opportunity to really grow to its full potential. But with that being said, like the proof's in the pudding. To see that money lost and wasted because I didn't do a good enough job in advance, to prevent that. This year, I decided, I was like, yeah, this isn't going to happen anymore. I'm going to do whatever I got to do to keep balance. Certainly, I want to see people shooting big bucks. I want to see people having smiles on their faces. But that's all hinging on, you got to have good habitat. You cannot allow one particular animal or species basically to eat everything because then everything else suffers. So even like the upland bird hunting, when there's too many deer, basically they eat all the cover. So, your grass fields end up, instead of having these nice like hip high, waist high grass fields, the deer are eating it down to basically nothing. So, that being said, we've been pecking away at it here pretty diligently. I've been bringing people in, friends, colleagues, people that, I actually have a friend coming in from Lancaster, Pennsylvania today, and we're going to be doing a doe hunt this evening, him and actually my dad and I, all three of us, so hopefully all three of us can tag one. But, yeah, I cannot stress to you enough the importance. If you are going to manage a farm, if you're going to manage, even if you're somebody that's trying to even manage property for hunting purposes, you have to do your checks and balances with the deer. Like I said, it's great when it comes to the bucks. Like we could have big, long conversations about growing bigger antlers on a deer. The biggest time for a buck to get bigger antlers is, obviously age is one huge thing. The older they get, clearly the bigger they're going to get. Number two, genetics. Those are some things that you and I necessarily can't have all the influence or sway in that I would like to. But when I say sway, obviously, yeah, it's great to see that buck come in and breed and reproduce and see that the genetics pass down. But sometimes that just doesn't happen, sometimes you get these genetic issues with certain deer. And that's another reason why it's very prudent to be conservation minded, to be acknowledging like what's on your properties. Are you seeing deer that are showing any health defects? Are you seeing deer with scraggly racks or with some type of, I can't, I've seen so many pictures this year alone of these bucks with just these deformed racks. If you can get them out of your herd, clearly, obviously, if they're legal, but stuff like that's management. That's conservation management. Same thing that goes with the does. When you have excessive amounts of does, they are going to eradicate your food sources. And guess what? If the does are eating up everything, it's less opportunity for the bucks. It's less opportunity for the turkeys. It's less opportunity for the small game. I could go right on down the list. And furthermore, especially if you have crops, which is a totally separate conversation. But if you're somebody that's trying to grow a crop for the purposes of your livelihood, clearly, I know some of you probably do hunt, even that are farmers, but those that do not necessarily could care less if there's big bucks on their property, because the way that they see it is they're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars for crop damage. You might think that sounds like a high number, but I've been to numerous meetings where I've heard just these horror stories, numbers that I can't even fathom losing that kind of money from crop damage. But my experiences is like, look, I learned the hard way, and doing something about it. So that's what we are right now. Harvesting does the rest of this week. That is what we're doing. And if we have any left over, late season archery and muzzleloader, that'll be the next order of business. But we're definitely headed on the right track on our behalf. But I think it's extremely, extremely important that whether you have a farm, whether you're somebody that's just a hunter that's trying to manage some habitat for your own purposes for hunting and whatnot, if you have too many does, you're out of balance. I personally don't know what that equilibrium is. I'm certainly myself learning as I go. I know that there are studies and there are suggestions and recommendations for, a buck to doe ratio, whether that's 2-to-1, 1-to-1, etc. I could tell you in my capacity, I was probably looking at 5 or 6-to-1. So I was way out of what is either recommended or what even, I figure it to be a more sustainable balance. But trying our best to create some form of balance is really critical, because otherwise, to my prior point, fruit trees that we've planted have been damaged. So we've had to spend additional monies on wrapping trees with fencing. Certainly, if you're somebody, sportsman, or even if you're a farmer that wants to just plant fruit trees for the sake of, in southwestern Pennsylvania, for the sake of whether that's just you want to get apples off of it, or for that matter, if you just want the deer to be able to eventually eat on it, the big hurdle there is the fact that the deer will destroy the trees before they ever even get the opportunity to produce. They'll actually eat the limbs right off the trees. So hence my point, you got to really know and manage your property accordingly. It's really critical to know the size of your deer herd. Do you need to scale things back? What do you need to look about doing? And then you need to look at additional measures even beyond that of what else can you do to manage your property. It might take you having to invest into, whether that's preventative sprays, whether that's summertime red tag programs, if your deer are really out of control. There's DMAP programs. I mean, luckily I haven't had to use those programs yet. Like, I'm trying to do our best during the normal hunting seasons, just getting people to come in and harvest does effectively and efficiently. So I'm really, really hopeful on our behalf that we're trying to do it within the seasons. I know a lot of people don't like to, especially sportsmen, don't really like the idea of shooting deer outside of like the allotted seasons. It's just really, there's a lot of reasons that go into it, a lot of viewpoints. But I think a lot of it is just that people like to hunt during the season. It's cold. You can butcher a deer certainly effectively and adequately, and it's not like you're in a time crunch. You go and try to shoot a deer in like September for that, under a red tag program, or even August. It's like you got to like literally get that thing to a chilled cooler, and it's a nightmare. So this time of the year, again, I cannot stress enough, if you have the opportunity to harvest some does and to create a balance to the ecosystem, it's really on behalf of all of us. I wish that the Fish Commission, I wish the Game Commission really hit that home better. I wish there were more educational tutorials about it. I wish it was a discussion on a much grander scale. We've really gotten into this societal problem to where, you watch these hunting shows and the only thing you see are big bucks. We got to do a better job collectively of discussing the facts of the situation of, the imbalance to the ecosystem, crop damages caused by our collective mismanagement. I would love to see the Game Commission redefine the management units based upon more realistic facts. The management units, I have no rational understanding. Actually, to be honest with you, I haven't actually, from a management unit perspective, I've heard about how rainbows and butterflies awesome they are. But when it comes to the statistical data, I've seen no quantitative data to back up the claims that the management units are in any capacities effective, efficient, or just simply work. It's easy for somebody in the bureaucracy of government to sit here and say that, well, they're smart and we're dumb and that, this is what should be. Well, like, I'm a fact-based person. It's no different than my hard-learned lesson about the sunflowers. When my stuff all got destroyed, it was like, yeah, you're doing something wrong. Clearly, I was doing something wrong. I wasn't managing my property adequately, so I had to change course. Collectively, though, you hear these stories about crop damages across the entire Commonwealth, and it kind of raises the question. It's like, well, what are we doing? Like, how do you keep doing the same thing and you expect a different result and you think it's going to get better? It's not going to get better. Farmers are hurting. We're doing a bad job of educating kids about the importance of conservation. We're doing a terrible job of teaching the outdoor community collectively the importance of harvesting does and why it's such a paramount and important piece of being a sportsman, maintaining stability with the ecosystem. We're supposed to manage wildlife habitat and be conservation minded. That is, in many capacities, the purview and the guise of the Pennsylvania Game Commission. When you allow imbalance, that's when you start having all these problems, whether it's the little issues like in my little sphere of what I've dealt with, or these humongous crop damage issues that people are seeing, or for that matter, what does everybody think's happening with, okay, we're only talking about bucks only, bucks only, but we're not doing a good job with the ecosystem. Well, number one, if we're harvesting more does, it's more food than for the bucks. So you're going to get bigger bucks right out of the gate. Number two, if people are shooting, I could say this from personal experience. If I'm going and shooting a couple of does and I get to legitimately hunt and I see bucks and I know that my efforts are going towards, next year, I'm okay with that. I don't have to, and I mean no disrespect to anybody, to each your own, but I don't have to go and shoot a little scraggly little buck to feel good about myself. If personally it doesn't do anything for me. I would rather let that little 8-point that's literally 14 inches wide go, because next year now it could be 17, 18 inches wide, and it's really could be, for many people, a once-in-a-lifetime deer. That's me. I've done that. I've done that now for years, and I've seen the benefits of those sacrifices, because now there are more bucks, more quality bucks we shoot every year. You don't just automatically poof, big bucks pop up out of nowhere like a gnome out of the ground. There has to be, from the things that you plant to the methods of, even like right now, conservation is a 365-day-a-year mechanism. We just can't talk about it at certain times. You have to look at it from a closed loop circle, that everything is affecting each other. It's that whole circle of life. And, right now it's very important to harvest animals and get them out of the system. So that way, when springtime rolls around, even when the next batch of wildlife is born, that they have more food to eat, that they have more opportunities, because we're allowing sick deer to maintain in a herd. We're allowing too many deer to be maintained in a herd. We're not harvesting enough does because, everybody just wants to shoot a buck. It's education. It's important that we all understand the pros and cons of our choices. And please don't take this wrong, I'm not saying that these are things that you have to do. I'm simply trying to educate all of you as to, you can make a difference. you can make a difference, helping to be a positive impact on the ecosystem, the balance of the way things need to be. And that this capacity, not only with the deer, expands to small game. I have seen such astronomical amounts of fox, coyote, raccoons, hawks. Now you say, well, hawks? Well, yes. A lot of these animals got protected because 150, 200 years ago, 100 years ago, people lived off the land. And when people lived off the land, it was, okay, am I going to feed my chickens to the hawks, or am I going to feed my chickens to my family? It's a pretty simple idea and concept. So back in the day, hawks basically, I don't want to say were next to eradicated, but they were pretty well saw as clearly what they are, a raptor, a little miniature velociraptor with wings, and they will kill relentlessly. They definitely are a vicious, vicious, vicious animal. I understand their purpose in the circle of life, but again, there's a great example of lack of conservation, a total mismanagement by the federal government and the state on that particular issue. Hawks are so out of control in Pennsylvania, it's insane. You can practically go down any highway and see a hawk, perched on the side of a highway or a tree, basically just waiting for something to be dead laying on the highway. That being said, trapping and pelt prices are so poor in today's economy, people don't want to trap anymore. It used to be back in the day, and also there are social factors, these groups that are anti, killing or hunting, which I think is sad because, these same groups want to have balance and want to talk about the environment and want to talk about the ecosystem. But if you do not keep the predators in check, the rest of the ecosystem becomes out of balance, comes imbalance. And I think that is a travesty in its own regard that we've allowed certain fringe groups to really have such a negative effect, a negative impact upon conservation. And I think that is something that we all need to acknowledge and understand, that when you have too many predators, the things that really engage and get the kids in the outdoors, whether that's rabbits, whether that's squirrels, and even, your other things like raccoons going out with a hound, groundhogs, etc. Those are some of the key gateways for our youth. But if we're not having a situation where trapping is a bigger idea, it's not more involved in our society, this is how we become out of balance. And again, back to the discussion about crop damages, it's not just deer that cause crop damage. Groundhogs eat a lot of things, from greens in a hayfield to fruit orchards. Same thing goes with a raccoon. Same thing. They will go through and wipe out a cornfield very quickly. Same thing goes for a possum. Possums will eat a lot of things out around a farm. And then obviously you have some other things here and there from, migratory birds. Have you ever seen those little big flocks of birds that come through? They'll get into your corn patches, etc., and put some damage to you. So, heck, even turkeys can cause a lot of damage. I'll tell you when turkeys cause the most damage is actually in the spring. If you do not get your seed bed good and into the ground, I can tell you right now, turkeys will obliterate seed. I've tried in the past, especially when we break ground and I want to do like a fling seeding and then just try to cultipack. That's tough, because I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to lose a lot of seed to turkeys. They are, wow. You talk about a little devouring vacuum cleaner. When it comes to springtime and they're out mating season, and you talk about an animal that if you don't get a seed down into the dirt where they can't see it, I can tell you, and even then, what they'll do, they'll go in the field with their feet, and they'll actually take their nails and their claws, and they'll actually dig into the dirt, and it's rather impressive. But you'll see these little areas where clearly defined that they were digging. These are all things that you got to look at, you got to evaluate, you have to consider when it comes to the balance of the ecosystem. Because it depends, at the end of the day, you personally, depending on what you manage, depending on what kind of property you have, depending on, heck, I could even just say, hey, if you're just somebody that doesn't have land and you just go to a game lands, totally an opportunity. I think it's undervalued. I think that the game lands, without a doubt, are mismanaged. And I could have a long conversation about that. The fact that we're not planting more food plots for wildlife, the fact that we're not planting more sorghum and things along those lines that are not only cover for a lot of wildlife, but also your pheasants, your chuckers, your quails, and I understand the Game Commission doesn't necessarily stock chuckers. I do think they should, but that's a whole nother topic. But deer, turkeys, they all eat the sorghum. I know they do some sunflowers, but when it comes to the game lands, do not plant nearly enough things that they should. And then there will be an argument to say, well, that's not natural habitat. Well, guess what? You got management units based upon layouts of where farms are, where mountains are. Does everybody get what I'm saying here? Like, the farms and the farmers' fields are part of the ecosystem. I don't care if you live in downtown Pittsburgh where, you got a little woodlot, and this is why Pittsburgh had to go to the extremes of having hunters come in, because, again, did not manage the ecosystem. They didn't want to allow hunting. Well, guess what? The deer became overrun. Next thing you know, like, basically destroying all the flowers, destroying the park space, etc., destroying the forest floor. Now they are opening it up for hunting. Hunting is a natural way of the order of life. It's very critical that we do this to maintain stability and balance. And I just can't stress it enough that there are so many little things that each and every one of us can do, whether that's just simply going out and buying some doe tags and harvest some does. If you don't use your buck tag, in late season, you can use that for a doe tag as well. Going out and trapping. I know pelt prices aren't the highest. I know they're actually pretty abysmal, which is its own conversation, which needs to be looked at and really evaluated. But we have to collectively have more conversations and really open up Pandora's box about our ecosystem, about conservation, because if we do not look at things from how to establish a better balance, we're failing everyone. You're failing the next generation of sportsmen. We're failing our farmers that need to produce crops to put, food on the table, not only for themselves, but for each and every one of us. We're failing collectively to look at the facts of the situation. We should not have crop damages in the capacity that we do. We should see more young people getting involved in the outdoors. When we do not value sporting clubs and fishing clubs, etc., that are key segues for kids when it comes to education and getting them a foot in the door with the outdoors, I think that is something that needs to be discussed, and it's something that has to be valued. And if we collectively can talk about these things and acknowledge that they're a concern, they're a problem, but guess what? There's solutions. There's a lot of great solutions, a lot of innovative solutions for us to all collectively come together to start pecking away at it, to get the needle to head back towards center. Because right now, we've allowed the scales to tip definitely far in one direction. And instead of doing the same things and expecting different results, and instead of us continuing down this path of problems without solutions, problems with complaints, We need solution-based thinking so we can collectively all move forward. And I'm really excited for that because I think, you know, things like harvesting deer, trapping, acknowledging that the fact that crop damages are out of control, acknowledging the fact that we need to get more kids in the outdoors, whether that's for the social benefits of our communities, whether that's for the social well-being of children growing up, whether that's for clearly the economic benefits, that people are spending money in the economy, that people are buying traps from sporting goods stores or buying guns, ammunition, buying clothing from retailers, stopping at gas stations, going to grocery stores. I could go on and on and on. But when you look at the big picture, conservation is critical. I think that's the thing I really want to drive home today is conservation is critical, and it's things as small as doe harvests of how you can make a difference. But I hope that you will listen to this and you will hear what I'm saying, not as a lecture, but just these are things that are facts. These are things that each and every one of you can do to make a positive change. Before you know it, it's going to be goose season. I hope that people go out and shoot some geese because, you constantly, there's a next wave of checks and balances. We need to harvest some geese so there aren't 10,000 geese on every golf course in southwestern Pennsylvania. Things that just look ahead, that's right around the turn. So I hope that, people will get out and do that as well. That's a fun experience. That's an enjoyable experience. And it's definitely something that I think each and every one of you would like. And goose jerky is pretty darn amazing. But that being said, again, I want to highlight the Mariana Outdoorsman Association. If you want to join the MOA, you can go to marianaoutdoors.com. Again, marianaoutdoors.com. Be stocking some trout December the 11th, which is next Monday, December 11th, 3 p.m., Wild Acres Farm. That is 1997 Morey Road, Clarksville, Pennsylvania, 15322. Also, just want to highlight the fact that all the gun ranges and all of the upland bird hunting fields will be reopened now that deer season will be over at that point in time, as far as deer rifle season, I should say. Upland bird fields are stocked weekly. If you want to come check us out, again, marianaoutdoors.com. On the 16th of December, we're actually going to be having a tour and open house. Come check us out. Again, Wild Acres Farm, 1997 Morey Road, Clarksville, PA, 15322. So, trout stocking on the 11th. Fields open back up on the 11th. Ranges open back up on the 11th. Tour on the 16th. Looking into January 5th, which is a Friday, we're going to be doing another trout stalking. Same time, same locations. Really going to be on fire by that point in time. And then on the 13th of January, we're going to be doing a continental pheasant hunt, which is actually going to be going towards our conservation program and towards habitat improvement. We got a lot of other things looking ahead. We'll be at the Mount Hope, Ohio Outdoor Show. That is in January of 2024. We're going to be at the Pittsburgh Outdoor Show, which is in February of 2024. And we're going to be at the Morgantown, West Virginia Outdoor Show, which is in March of 2024. So those are things I'm going to be highlighting here in upcoming shows, like the details, times, locations, etc. But please just make sure you put it on the calendar that January is the Ohio Sports Show, the East Ohio Sports Show. That's out in Mount Hope. February is the Pittsburgh Sports Show. And March is the West Virginia Sports Show. We'll have a nice booth set up. It's really a great time, great experience. I think everybody just enjoys that one-on-one, being able to talk to people, being able to convey ideas and, answer any questions. So if you don't get to come for the trout stalkings, if you don't get to come for the tours, if you're just wanting to come and see us, that'll be the next time that we kind of are out and about with everybody. But looking ahead, I just want to say 2024 is looking really exciting. We got a lot of habitat projects beyond just obviously harvesting some does and some other things, but we actually have a pretty big construction schedule looking ahead. Following up in the future, I'm going to be diving into some upcoming topics from beavers, beaver dams, permitting with those issues, how destructive they can be. So our next show, I'm not going to be here next week. I'll have somebody filling in for me. I do apologize. I'm actually taking a little bit of a vacation, but I look forward to having everybody, not only next week, but when I come back, like I said, I'm going to be diving into some different topics from beavers, beaver dams, permits, fish habitat. We're going to be diving into fish species. I want to be talking about some hatchery topics, some hurdles and some things, some habitat improvement projects that we have lined up for the future, and some things that you can do as sportsmen, whether that's on your local stream or at your club, or if you just want to. I hope that I can convey some ideas in the future even about that, as far as things that we can collectively do as conservation-minded sportsmen to try to improve our streams and waterways. And there's things that we can all do that are cost effective. And I'm gonna share with you some of the tools that we've learned and that we've utilized. And you don't have to spend a mountain of money. There's really nothing's free in life, clearly. But when you collectively look at it, there's things that I'd like to share with you as far as how we've been able to tremendously and beneficially improve the environment, improve habitat for fishing and hunting. And I just want to keep sharing those little things. But I just want to say thank you so much for being such a great audience. I'll be out of town next week, but when I come back, we're going to be diving into some beavers habitat conservation. But until then, God bless each and every one of you. Have an enjoyable weekend. Come see us at the Mariana Outdoorsman Association Wild Acres Farm, and check us out at MarianaOutdoors.com, 724-579-0924. Thanks, and have a great weekend, everyone.